The Hunan Museum was built in 1951 and opened to the public in 1956 and is located in the city center of Changsha in the Hunan province, China. The museum has a collection of more than 180,000 objects, from fossilized animal bones to petrified rice, and from ancient weapons to ancient burial tombs. The museum also houses the world's oldest fully preserved wet mummy, which I'm saving for the end of the video. The museum underwent renovations and closed during 2012 and only reopened at the end of 2017. The entire building area covers about 91,000 square meters. The museum has information in Chinese as well as English, and also offers portable audio guide capabilities. Today we will only look at the main exhibition of the museum, which starts on the second floor and covers 3 stories. The first part of the exhibition starts off with prehistoric history of life in the general area. After the fossilized bones and primitive tools of the Paleolithic and Neolithic era, we look at the more recent archaeological artifacts of the Shang Dynasty during the Bronze Age, 1600 to 1046 BC. It was during the Zhou Dynasty from 1046 to 256 BC that the Chu Kingdom's culture merged with the local people's culture to become a uniquely Hunan culture. During the Qing, Han, Western Jin and Eastern Jin dynasties from 221 BC to 420 AD, fierce fighting in the north led to many people migrating south through Hunan. With these new people passing through, so came new technological and cultural developments. These are examples of administrative stamps used by aristocrats and officials in ancient China. These are large drums and musical flutes. It is difficult to believe that these petrified rice grains are thousands of years old, the oldest being roughly 15,000 years old. These machines were used by the ancient Chinese to farm, collect and process rice and were used up until the mid-20th century in some remote places. Clay ornaments were an intricate part of ancient Chinese culture and ranged from figurines to animal sculptures and from house models to vases. Bronze was used as the primary material to make cooking pots, tools, and elaborate decorative vases. These are large Chinese musical bells casted from bronze. These trinkets are all a part of a wide collection of clothing accessories. Pikes, swords and bows were all used extensively in ancient China, with pikes being the most common as they required the least skills to use and used less bronze to craft. It is important to keep in mind that most of these elaborate artifacts were generally found in more affluent households of society. Since ancient times, gold was extensively mined in China. Hunan has at least 5 gold deposits. Bronze and jade, however, were seen as the most valued artistic materials. Instead, gold and silver were first used for their color to enhance artifacts made of other metals. The first artifacts that were purely made from gold occurred during the Shang Dynasty, 1600 BC to 1046 BC, and objects included gold earrings, gold masks, gold scepters, etc. These are ancient bronze mirrors that were used in various social events. They were given to and by aristocrats as well as common people. For Buddhists in ancient China, the light reflecting the mirrors represented eternal light. clothes are known as Hanfu, which was the norm attire during the Han Dynasty from 202 BC to 220 AD. Chinese porcelain was first made in its crudest form during the Tang Dynasty from 618 AD to 907 AD. The best quality porcelain as we know it today came about during the Yuan Dynasty from 1279 AD to 1368 AD. The next part of the museum takes a look at more recent history of the early 20th century and provides artifacts of when the communists were fighting the nationalists. There is a special room that displays all the musical instruments of classic Chinese culture, which includes drums, bells, harps, and flutes. The scripture halls are a real delicacy for the literary scholar, and boasts everything from books pertaining religious scriptures to old administrative records. There are also poems and proverbs on banners and wind fans from the 19th century. This is a hall dedicated to the creative art of making the classical Chinese musical harps called guqin. We will now move on to the centerpiece of the main exhibition of the museum, and my favorite piece of antiquity that keeps bringing me back to this world-renowned archaeological discovery. It all started in 1968 when workers were digging an air raid shelter for a hospital in Changsha and accidentally discovered the burial tomb of Zhen Jue along with personal effects and manuscripts. So who exactly was Zhen Jue? The answer to that is very easy thanks to the records of the time and the burial manuscripts. Zhen Jue, also known as Lady Dai or Marquise of Dai, was born 217 BC and died 168 BC at the age of 50, making the tomb and everything inside well over 2,000 years old. The discovery made international headlines and even featured in the New York Times. Zhen Jue lived during the time of the Western Han Dynasty and was married to Li Kang, who was the counselor of the Changsha kingdom at the time. Zhen Jue lived an excellent lifestyle, which included silk clothing, an array of cosmetics, and a diet consisting of various foods and meats, which was only reserved for the elite in society. She was very fond of music and had her own entourage of musicians, who played for her in private and special events. Zheng also enjoyed playing the huaiqin, the Chinese harp. Unfortunately, Zheng suffered from numerous medical conditions such as arteriosclerosis, coronary thrombosis, gallstones, a fused spinal disc, and excessive weight. When Zheng died, she was buried inside a hill called Dai, along with more than 1,000 different items. The tomb itself is an inverted pyramid buried underground. I cannot but help to draw comparisons of that of ancient Egypt's pharaoh burials. Like them, Zheng had all the amenities that someone of her stature would need in the afterlife, which included food, drink, clothes, cosmetics, musical instruments, weapons, pottery, manuscripts, figurines, and even mourners. You are probably wondering, how could a mummy and these objects last over 2,000 years in wet conditions? The answer is simple. Changsha is very wet and receives rainfall all year round. The water leached soil particles down to the tomb, covering everything in wet clay. Clay struggles to retain oxygen, which increases the rate of decomposition. By luck or stroke of genius, the conditions were perfect for preservation. The wooden sarcophagus weighs several tons, and the conditions in the tomb over time has petrified the wood and almost turned it into stone. One can only bask in the presence of antiquity such as this and wonder in awe why the ancients preferred to be buried like this. Perhaps it's a struggle to come to terms of their inevitable mortality, or perhaps an attempt to communicate and reach out to us from the past. Either way, one can only appreciate and cherish what has been given to us to protect and safeguard. The museum has a cafeteria, coffee shop and a few souvenir shops where one can buy replicas of the museum's inventory. I hope you all enjoyed the tour of the museum. Thanks for watching.